Okay, so today we're making a rag quilt. I've got two fabrics here. They're both 2 2/3 of a yard. And then I have some batting. And I'm going to need more than this, but you can just use scraps. You can get the same amount of batting if you need to buy some. But if you have scraps, this is a perfect project to use up those scraps because we're going to be cutting them into smaller pieces to begin with. So let's get started. We're going to cut the fabric into 7-inch squares. And we'll do this with both colors of fabric. So I'm going to just begin by cutting 7-inch strips. And I'm going to flip my mat around because I like to read the numbers on here as I'm cutting. Just go to the 7-inch line, like that, and then we'll go to the 14-inch line, cut that, and then the 21-inch, and you can continue on down the length of the mat if you'd like, but we'll just move on for the moment. Now I'm going to turn it so I can see where the selvage edge is. I'm going to want to cut that off. So I'm going to flip it like that, and if I have it right along the edge here, it's just barely at 21 inches, which is perfect. I'm just going to adjust it a little bit because this other side doesn't have the marking, so I'm just going to move it a little bit like that, and it won't be on the fold, but it'll just give me a little bit more room so I can trim off that fold right there. So we'll just continue that with the rest of the strips. And then we'll just cut. I'm going to line it up with the line right here. And since it's going to be a rag quilt, if you're not like precise, it's okay. It's not like you're going to piece this together and have this amazing piece where everything needs to line up perfectly. It's a rag quilt, so you won't notice imperfection. So I'm going to trim off the selvages here, just right on the 0 line, and then I'll just do the same thing. 7, 14, and then 21. I'll try this with my other hand here. So I'm going to just trim it up a little better using the right hand. Just 'cause it's a little easier for me to use that way. Alright, and so then we'll just continue on cutting. We're going to need 72 squares of each color. And so I'll just continue cutting that. And then we'll start sewing. Okay, so each strip that you cut will make 6 squares because it's on the fold right here. I didn't explain that before. But so as you cut like 3 at a time, like I did, and then cut them each, then you'll have 18 squares. So I have one more set of 3 strips to cut to get my 72. And then we'll do the same thing with the blue fabric. Now I have a little bit of extra here. It's just a little over a quarter of a yard. So I may do a fun little throw pillow or something like that with it. Haven't decided yet. I purchased this fabric on a whim. I really liked it and I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was one of those where it's the end of the bolt, so they, you know, give you a deal on the last. I wanted 2 yards of it and there was an extra 2/3, and so I just got it, not with a plan in mind. So luckily this is going to work out with the blue fabric, but I will have a little bit extra that I wouldn't have had to purchase if I would have known what I was doing when I bought it. But it is also nice to just have extra if you ever mess up. If it's like your first time doing something like this and you just are worried about messing up, then go ahead and just get a little bit of extra, and then you'll have that peace of mind and make a fun small craft with it later if you would like. Okay, so now I have my 72 squares of that, my big stack right here, and then we'll get started on the blue. Just do the exact same thing. Okay, so there we have all of our squares for the blue and for this pattern. And now we're going to cut out the batting. So for the batting, you're going to do 6-inch squares. And I'm just using scraps to do this. And this is going to work out so I can get about 3 this way. I just can get it lined up straight. So we'll just trim off this edge here, get it straight, and then we'll just do the same thing, but we'll go to the 6-inch line. So we've got 6, 12, and then 18. And then this is on the fold, so we can get some more if we open it up. So we can, let's see what's next, 24. And then this one is just a little too short. So we'll just get rid of that. And we'll do the same thing. I think since this is thicker, I'll just do 2 at a time. And this is going to be just about right. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to do more than 4 layers of batting because it's pretty thick. So there we go. 4, 8, and 12. Really struggling with my left hand. But I don't want to flip the whole mat around every time. So there's 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down and keep a tally each time, since it's going to be different with every little piece I have. And then I don't have to go back and count every single time. So then this one will be 9 squares. 3 layers. 3 layers is a little easier to cut, but you know, it's faster to do 4 at a time. Okay, so then we have 9. And I'll just keep working through until I get 72 6-inch squares of batting. In case you didn't notice, we got some kittens. They're still learning to not get on the table. But so here we have 72 of each of our fabrics, of the blue, of the wolf elk print, and of our batting. So to sew the pieces together, we're going to take 2 pieces and we're going to have the wrong sides together. So the fabric, the print is going to be down, and then we're going to put a piece of our batting in the center, and then we will put our other piece with the print facing up. So we're going to sandwich that together, and then we're going to sew from corner to corner. So and then we'll just go the opposite way from corner to corner. Okay, and so there we have our square, and we're going to just continue that with all of the squares. So another way to do it is to chain sew them. So we can take our next piece, we'll have one facing down, and we'll put the batting in the center, and the next one facing up, and we'll just sew this one. Then we'll grab our next piece and just continue. So we'll have one facing down and make our little sandwich, this one on top, and continue sewing a diagonal. And then you can do this as long as you want, through all of them if you want, but I'm just going to do 3 just to show you. So then you'll just trim and you'll clip between the squares. And then you can just do the same thing going with the other diagonal. And that just helps save a little bit of time and a little bit of thread. So if you would like that option, you can do that, or you can do them individually one at a time, either way. So there you have the same thing, just a different way to do it. So we'll just finish sewing up all of the squares, these ones and the blue ones, and then we'll start putting it together. So we have all of the squares sewn together, and now it's time to sew the rows. So we'll just alternate colors every other one, and we're going to put 8 squares in each row, and we'll make 9 rows total. Okay, so we're going to sew them together. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam to sew them. So this is going to be the back, this will be the front. So we'll just continue on. One thing that we need to be aware of is when we sew them together, we need to make sure that this rough edge is always going to be facing up. So all of the ragginess is going to be on the same side of the quilt. So that's just one thing to watch for as you sew. just sew our next one. And I'm trying to make sure that all my prints are facing the same direction so that it's not like upside down like when I'm all done. So just that's another thing to kind of pay attention to. Okay, so here's a quick example of what not to do. On this one I sewed so that the raw edges are facing up, and then my next square I wasn't paying attention and they're facing down, so I'm going to have to repick that one, but just something to be watching for. Okay, so now we have all of our rows sewn together. So we're going to take each row and sew it to the next one. So just one thing we're going to want to check is that we're alternating colors, and then we're going to want to check that we're sewing with these raw edges both facing out as we go. So one thing that you can do, I don't know if you can see, is you can kind of nest the seams. Normally the seams are on the inside when you do this in quilting, but if you have one pointing one direction and one pointing the other way, then it will lay a little bit flatter as you're sewing along. So we'll just sew all of the rows together, making sure that they alternate so that we have a checkerboard pattern. Next, you're going to sew 1/2 inch all the way around the outside of the blanket. So here is the quilt all sewn together. This is the back, which is really cute too. And so what's left to do now is to clip the edges. So what I like to do is I like to fold it over so just an edge is showing like this. So flip it over so you just have an edge like this. And then we're just going to take some scissors and we're going to clip about every 1/4 of an inch or so. And it doesn't have to be exact, but just we're going to do this along every single seam. So pop in a movie and sit at the TV and sit and do that for a while. So this edge right here has a triple layer. So one thing you want to make sure is you can see the seam line right here. Do not cut through that, or else you'll cut your seam apart and it will unravel. And so yeah, just sit and clip, and then we'll throw it in the washing machine and then dry it. Make sure that your lint trap has been emptied before you do this, because this is going to fill it up once you wash it. So once you've clipped all the seams, so I like to go along all this way, and then I'll sit and go to the next line and do it, and then I'll do the same thing going the other direction. I just feel like it's easier when you just have this little thing to, if you're trying to do it like this down in here, it's a little trickier, but if you fold it over, then you can just clip right up to the seam really easily.